Gonna do a quick shop tour. Probably had this shop set up for about a year now, and prior to moving to this house I did no woodworking at all. But once we bought this place I fell in love with the basement because it's like 1,700 square feet, and I'm like, gotta build a shop. I got plenty of room. So that's what I did. And pretty much everything I've done or learned, or what tools to get, or everything I've learned so far has been all from YouTube. So I'll go over it quickly. This is my assembly slash outfeed table. It's the same height as my table saw. It's Craftsman, not high-end contractor saw. My dad gave it to me, but it's done the job. The only problem is the fence. Is you got to really check it every time you make a cut. But it's worked well so far. I'm saving up to get the probably grizzly or a saw stop. We'll see. But this table was made out of, I think it was one or two sheets of plywood, and it's all mortise and tenon. Although it wasn't cut mortise and tenon. When you make the legs, you just sandwich a block in there when you glue it up and then remove it. So when you put the stretchers and everything in, it fits together. It's been an awesome table. It's sturdy. The only thing I did, I put some trim around it just so it would save the edges from getting screwed up. This clamp is a pretty cool little clamp. I got it for free from the Home Depot Seeds program. It's a quick release if you want, and it cranks either way. Or you don't have to crank it, or you can just go straight on. It's a cool little clamp, cheap, but I would buy it if I didn't get it for free. Over here, Salvage bench grinder from my wife's parents. They gave it to me. They didn't need it anymore. Rigid drill press was a good Craigslist score. I think I paid $200 for it. It had fallen over. You can see the track's a little bent. The orange cover has a crack in it, and the handle's sheared off. You can see up there a little bit when it fell. So what I did is, they were actually sheared off from in here, but they're the same thread on both sides. So I just took them out, flipped the shafts around, and they thread right in. And I'm just going to make, like I did there, make new handles that slide on. Works great. DeWalt planer, I bought that new, so I didn't get a deal on it, but it's great. I built this cart for it. Inside it's just a snug fit shelf. There's no drawer slides or anything. Keep my router bits in there, some dust collection hardware, extra blades, that kind of stuff. This was the first inset door I made. I scavenged the panel. It's MDF that came on something I bought, so I wanted to try and make an inset door, and it worked. It came out all right. Not great. Still have to practice more. And I got my biscuit joiner in there, DeWalt, the case for my router, and then all my Wen tools down here. I got the track saw and the router for free through the Home Depot Seeds program to review. So I've been doing that. The router has been pretty good. I've used it for a bunch of stuff. The plunge action though is not good. It's pretty jerky. Sometimes you really got to hit it hard to get it just to free up. So not that part isn't good, but as a fixed base router it's fine. The track saw back there, same issue. The plunge action is not good. It takes some force to move it up and down, but once you get it, it cuts alright. And then I have a Wen hand planer that I used once or twice. I don't like hand planers in general, electric. I'd rather use just a manual plane. So that's my Wen drawer. My little high-tech hinge right here. It's really low-tech, but it works awesome. So one of my current projects, it's almost done, just waiting on the letters to get painted. It's going to be a staffing board for the Firehouse. And I resawed some 4x6 rough cut oak that's been drying for like 30 years. It was part of our shoring trailer. So I cut that down and made that. It's going to have, in here it's going to have all the different units, and when people are staffing them, you write in their name. So it's something cool to hang up. Clamp rack, just made out of plywood, and it's on a French cleat so I can remove it. My utility cabinet's got all my battery tools. This is probably the thing I use the most, because I can just grab something, take it out, put it back in. You don't have to open up a case or anything. Obviously got that off of YouTube. Plenty of people made different versions, but I have some scrap wood, built this cabinet. These aren't inset, this is just surface, but they look alright. It's all out of plywood. Just miscellaneous stuff in there. Scavenged kitchen cabinets because we gutted this upstairs when we bought it. I saved them, and then that piece was in the garage when we got here, so I just brought it down here. Didn't have to build anything for that. hang up some of my fire. I'm also a fireman. I get to hang some of my fire stuff up down here. So can't hang it upstairs. I built this workbench. This was the first thing I ever built when I moved in. Added 2x4s, and then the top, those boards are scavenged from the house. When we demoed it, it had faux beams upstairs throughout the whole first floor, so I saved them all. It's not ideal for a top, but that's what I had. I'll probably replace that with a miter saw station similar to what I might even buy Jay Bates' plans, because I really like his miter saw station. I just have to adjust it a little bit for what I need. That's the first flag I ever made. I made a bunch since, a lot better at it, but I like to keep the first thing I made, you know, so you can see where he came from. I bought the sliding DeWalt miter saw new. It's been awesome. I have no complaints at all about it. I really like it. I haven't even upgraded the blade because it does a good job. And then I'll go over the dust collection after that. But this one little thing right here, sticking a piece of cardboard in there, I'm gonna try and get some rubber, but that helps the dust collection a lot. Sometimes that little shroud will suck together and it won't take that much dust in, but it does a pretty good job. I like that saw. I got the Bostitch pancake compressor. I got that with a kit with 2 nailers and a stapler for 200 bucks. Great deal. My dust collection currently is that rigid vac going over. Got that from my wife's parents for free. Works awesome. And then I just actually upgraded my dust collection today. So I wanted to see if I can increase the capacity, because the suction's fine just with a vacuum in the 2.5-inch hose. So I got this drum for 10. I got 2 of them for 10 bucks off Craigslist. Put it together today, and so far it's working. And I have the blast gate for this is actually at the miter saw. Since it's a farther run, I don't have it here. And then these two, one is dedicated to the table saw, and then this one is on the jointer right now. But I flip that between the planer, and since it's got a long hose, I'll use it for cleaning up the shop. And the table saw goes up and over, so I can walk under and not trip on it. Over to my Craftsman Contractor Saw that my dad gave me, the first table saw I ever received. I put a Freud blade on it. Cuts awesome. I put a lot through it. The fence, you know, it's typical of a lower end saw. It locks fine, but it does have a little bit of movement when you lock it, so I got to check it in 3 places every time I set it up. Not a big deal. I'm saving up for a grizzly or a saw stock. That's what I'm going to purchase next. Oscillating rigid spindle / belt sander. Also got this from my wife's parents. They aren't using it anymore. And I just got some new sandpaper on there. Thing works awesome. I really like it. I used it to sand the curves on the staffing board. Worked great. Back there is my Dremel. Gets a lot of work when I'm making signs, or when I am doing the stars. I don't like to throw away my scrap wood because I get as much as I can for free, so I keep everything. Sometimes you need a little piece for trim, or you need a test piece, so I keep everything. All in there is some more of that 4x6 oak from the fire company, so that's just for fire company projects. It's probably been drying in our trailer for about 20-30 years. Solid stuff. The wood rack, I can't quote the person who I got that from on YouTube. He has a great tutorial. I made it all out of plywood. So it's just 3 pieces of plywood sandwiched, and then you just I was using poplar at first because I had it for the horizontal section, but you can use pretty much anything. So I just used a cut off of that and spaced everything out as I glued them, and I pinned it, or brad nailed them while I clamped it and was drying. And then I just used Tapcons drilled right into the block. It's a good rack. I got to organize a little more and put some more of the poplar pieces in. But I like keeping stuff off the ground. Now I can organize a little bit down here. So I want to eventually put tools underneath it so I can have stuff all along that wall. And I'm going to buy a bigger dust collector, so I don't know if I'm going to put it there and move some of this wood over, or if I'm going to put it over in that corner and run the piping over. Not sure. Another shop vac that I've had for a while. This 6-inch grizzly joiner I got on Craigslist for $250 or $275. Great deal. When I sell stuff or when I buy anything, it needs to be 50% of what it is new. Or if to me it's not worth buying it used, I'll just buy it new because I have the money to buy the stuff. So I try and price my stuff 50% of new, or buy around 50% of new. This thing's been great. It's sharp. It's true. Ran a lot of red oak through it for a table that we built at the Firehouse. It's been great. The Jet bandsaw, another Craigslist buy. I paid $375 for that with the base and an extra blade. And I bought a dirt wolf or werewolf. I don't know. I have another blade I haven't put on yet. Same thing. Awesome tool. I probably never need to replace it. It's really heavy duty, and I like it. Cuts really well. There's another one of those drums that I'm using for dust collection to keep more of my scrap in. Trying to keep everything clean. So I was practicing doing some letters for that staffing board. That's for when I'm spraying down here. I try not to spray too much inside, but when the weather's not cooperating, I do. Leftover plywood, a small flag that I'm still working on. And then I don't know how many of you are Italian, but I was raised on the Italian side of my family, so you always got to have a stove at least in the basement for holidays, so you can make sure you can cook everything. One of my leftover kitchen cabinets from the new kitchen that we ended up not using, and then one of the original ones. One of my projects, I wanted to build something with a barn door, so I built this little sliding barn door cabinet, made the hardware and everything. Plans for that are on Shanty 2 Chic. They're on Instagram, they're on Facebook. They got a lot of free plans. So that's about it. I got a 200 amp service down here. I'm going to be adding some more, probably adding a 220 line for the table saw and for a future dust collector. But that's pretty much it. Oh, and also I got if anyone has been looking, I got the Wen air filter. It's actually been on this whole time. I don't know if you heard it. Haven't done any major work down here since I put this in a couple weeks ago, but it is quiet. It does have a timer, and it was $130, which I thought was a great price. So that is my my shop right now. Obviously, I'm always looking to improve it and buy more stuff, but that's it. There's somebody asked about it, so here it is. Have a good one.